What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things
with Shawn and Andrew,
a podcast all about couples
and the things they go through.
Today we have
Taylor Calmus and his wife Heidi.
Yes.
You might also know him as the Dude Dad.
Yes.
And I've been watching the Dude Dad for years. He has millions of fans on Facebook. He's hilarious, and he also just came out with a book called A Dude's Guide to Baby Size.
Which is hysterical, and it's basically written by a comedian, which makes me super excited for this interview.
I know, we're pumped. I've never met his wife Heidi, but she's actually maybe even the better part of their content. So if you want to find out more about Taylor and Heidi, we'll link their information down below. And also, if you want to buy his book called A Dude's Guide to Baby Size, where he makes hilarious comparisons to how large your child is at certain points of pregnancy, you can find that down below as well. So without further ado, let's bring you this interview with Taylor and Heidi. Taylor, Heidi, pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Super excited to be here.
Thanks for having us.
You guys have a lot going on. I was just telling actually Heidi before we got going here that you live in a similar town that my friends do, and you are like living legends out there. So
oh, that's cool.
I'm a fan from afar, but also you're just impacting your community, which is great to see. So excited to have the conversation. But you have a lot going on. So you have a TV show, Taylor.
Yes.
You got your social media, which is one of my favorite accounts.
Oh, thank you.
You have 3 kids together, and now you just came up with the book. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out where should we start this conversation.
That's like how I start every
let's talk
morning.
What
do I do today? And then I end up not doing anything, and I just get one more day behind on everything.
Yeah. That would be me if it weren't for him. I'm the kind of person where I'm like, I just want to like hang out with the kids today. That's it.
Yeah.
I like to just fill my day with little things and don't do the big thing I'm supposed to do. And just like, oh, well, I got that interview and I've got that meeting. And then, oh, I got to answer that email. And then, it's 4:00.
Oops, here we are.
Exactly.
I would love to start hearing the story of how you two met.
Oh.
Do you remember when you first saw me?
Yeah, there was zero interest.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, we were going to this school in South Dakota called University of Sioux Falls, and
Sure, you've heard of it.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
Who.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. But so I was a senior that year and he was a junior, and I did the school play that year for the first time because I'd never done like a school production before. So I was like, I'm almost done with my entire school career. I should probably experience this one time in my life. And I did, and I met this girl, and we just would talk about the most random things when we're supposed to be rehearsing. We would just be like in the back talking about stuff. Anyways, she was also in the theater production or in the a theater major
department.
Department like Taylor, and she wanted me to do this one act. And I was like, I am not doing a one act. Like, I'm not an actor. Like, I'm just, no. And she was like, no, I think this will be really fun. It's just going to be a two-man show. It'll be you and my friend Taylor. He's coming back from LA, so let's just do it. And I was like, fine, whatever. So I already kind of had this, like, bad attitude about, like, well, I don't really want to do this. And then he, like, just gets back from doing a semester in LA of film studies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in LA for one semester, so I came back, and I like literally on the drive home, the 24-hour drive, I get a call from our friend Ashley that's like, hey, I'm doing this directing play. You're going to be in it with my friend Heidi. I was like, all right, cool. That sounds like fun. Let's do it.
So I meet him, and he colored his hair orange because he's trying to be...
I was California, bleach blonde hair, going for it.
Stop.
Yeah, right?
I looked awful.
Dang.
Yeah.
I looked stupid.
So we're like, we meet, and the like first interaction I have with them. So my sister has a baby the day before we're supposed to like have our first rehearsal, and so I'm like
Late.
And
Wow. And it's just you two in this play.
So he calls
Oh my
me 3 minutes past when I'm supposed to be there, and he's like, where are you? And I was like, oh my gosh, who are you? Like, first of all, how'd you get my number? And second, what? Like, we're off to a great start. Great. So excited to meet you. Let's do this. So
Also, you bleach your hair, bro, so don't be coming at me with punctuality.
Yeah.
Hey.
So we go, but get to the rehearsal, and actually I had a lot of fun. I was like, oh, you know what? He's really good at this. This could be really easy. And this will be a lot of fun. So then we did have a lot of fun doing that. And
Did
then
you got to tell them the contents of the play, because this is the weirdest part of it. Like, our friend Ashley is a little eccentric.
and this is
This is a Christian college.
A Christian
like,
college.
Small
a
Christian
small
college.
Christian college.
And our friend Ashley's like, I'm gonna put this play on, and it's about like this dude who's cheating on his wife with a prostitute, and the play opens with us. The play opens with us duct taped back to back
In our underwear.
in our underwear, and we'd just gotten robbed.
What? But hold on a minute. Today's episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens.
Babe,
Yes, darling.
I can feel fall coming, and I am so excited.
Me too. I feel like fall, where we live here in Nashville, is the best time of year. But I'm also a little scared because cooler months means cold season is coming.
Yeah, and with the kids in school, we are really making sure we're getting in our extra AG1 these days.
That's right. I put 1 scoop of AG1 in my water each morning, which gives me 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to start the day.
It is truly the best, and it also supports better sleep quality and recovery, and as a mom, I'll take any of that I can get.
Ditto. Their special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, your recovery, focus, and aging.
To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/EastFam.
Again, that's athleticgreens.com/EastFam to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Let's get back to it.
So, I mean, we were like in our, in our Christian underwear. So like, t-shirt, shorts kind of a situation,
Yeah.
right? But then like, I mean, I'm just gonna tell a story. There's like parts in the play where Heidi had to like fake an orgasm.
What?
When I say it back, I'm like, what was this? What is this? But that's how we
Anyways,
met. So it's
that's how we
important
met.
that, like,
It's important to know. But you know what? That catapulted us into the next piece, because first of all, someone told me that because I was like, I'm not doing this play. And she was like, no, you can do this play, because you are going to find the things that you love about people that you find unlovable.
Wow.
Number 1, and you're going to be that. Number 2, it helped me understand like pieces of people who are forced into this lifestyle. And then that was my career for 10 years. I worked with traffic victims, domestic sex traffic victims in the United States for 10 years. So
there you go.
very awkward
Dang.
to start, but a very
But that's
full
that's where it
life
went.
afterwards.
Wow.
I thought that got real deep real quick, Heidi. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's
But
what she
so-
You're
does.
welcome.
So-
It's like takes it real fun and light, and then she's like,
No. So overall, you're glad you did the play at the end of the day, Heidi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But he was so funny because he was like, I'm really good at coming up with things to do. And I was like, yeah, let's see it. And he's like, okay, I'm going to pick you up tonight at 9. And I was like, there's no way I'm going out with this guy by myself. So I made my best friend come with us to our first date. And we went luge boarding down the hills of Sioux Falls.
Wait, that's incredible.
legend you are, T.
right? I mean, how many other guys took you street luging?
0.
But here's the thing. Guess what shoes she showed up in?
What?
Like flip-flops?
Gucci's.
Gucci.
Yeah. I don't know what street luging was. I was
Like
like,
literally the worst shoe you
Yeah,
could.
tear your feet apart probably.
Dang.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I did.
Wait.
We were safe.
Did you just have a luge sitting around, or was this on a skateboard?
We made one. We made a couple.
Of course you
them.
did. Wait, is that where like the DIY project started? Or has that been like a part of your life, your whole life?
That's a kind of a part of my life. It was like something that, I grew up on like an acreage in the middle of nowhere in South Dakota. So like, we didn't have like arcades or movie theaters or like things to do. So we just kind of had to make our own fun. And my dad sells construction equipment. So we always had like a plethora of tools around. And so me and my brother kind of just, started making stuff.
Dang. That's impressive. I could see, I'm curious how this progresses then? Because your first date is like, were you playing the adultering husband, Taylor? You were playing in the theater play. Yeah, you were the.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, that's, out of the gate, a tough role to kind of walk into and be like, hey, I'm serious about a relationship, even given this. So then you do the first date. How did things progress from there with you two?
Oh,
Slowly.
Well, it was slow for a little bit.
Yeah.
You're in your I was in my last year of college, and he's trying to figure out who he's in love with. I don't know. So, there's a bunch of drama along the way, but so there was one day we almost broke up, and I was like, you know what? Let's talk about this. So we went to Perkins.
Love Perkins.
Yes, right.
Giant flag.
Let me tell you how he tried to break up with me. He tried to play me the song "Don't Stop Believing."
I love this.
Don't stop believing. And I was like, "What are you doing?" I guess the joke's still on me because I was the one that was like, "We're not breaking up, user."
That's the funny thing is, like, here I am doing this idiotic thing to break up with you, and you're like, yeah, no, I want to stay with this guy. This seems like a legit relationship. I want to stick this out, see where this goes.
But I was so mad at him for a few of the things that had led up to this moment that I was like, we're going to go to Perkins and we're going to be in public because neither one of us can really scream at each other then. And then I just basically laid it out of like, look, this is what you've been doing the last couple of months that is stupid. That I don't like, that I don't appreciate. It's not okay. And then he was like, all right, cool. Thanks for letting me know. So I guess we're both going to give us the best shot. And then we did. And then
here we are.
Do you remember?
Rest is history.
Wait, and then how did the proposal go?
Oh, the proposal was super cute. So that was 3 years later. In Fargo, North Dakota, where I grew up. So he had moved away to Los Angeles and I had stayed back in where we met in Sioux Falls
for a year.
And I think like a lot of people would maybe not make it through that, but I think that really saved us because it was, the heart makes, or distance makes the heart grow fonder, but we also were both kind of pursuing our own things. And so, so we kind of really knew who we both were. By the time we rejoined and I moved to LA, we both really knew who we were and what we wanted. And that there was, neither one of us were feeling like we missed out on anything. So yeah, it worked.
Let me ask this, so Taylor's pursuing acting, and then Heidi gets inspired to work in like the sex trafficking. How do I say that right? Sex,
anti-HT field,
two, different different vibes there. How are you navigating that?
I feel like, we kind of balance each other out because Heidi's job and career was so heavy that like just kind of the silliness and the lightheartedness of what I was doing helped kind of balance her out. But at the same time, both take an incredible amount of motivation and drive to continue to pursue every single day. So, having somebody alongside you who's also aspiring to something and working on something, sort of like helped us both push forward, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But we also weren't in each other's fields at all. So there was zero competition.
Yeah.
At all to, get on each other's skin or be like, well, I wouldn't do it that way, or whatever it was. There wasn't any of that. It was just a lot of encouragement on both ends. So yeah.
Yeah. Heidi's like the best support system you could ever ask for because she just is there and helpful and, makes you feel good about what you're doing.
Even if what you're doing is bleaching your hair.
No, not everything. Not everything.
Yeah. But
and that's where she'll be helpful at redirecting and being like, hey, maybe this video is a bad idea.
Well, so you guys get married. How old's your oldest kid?
6.
Wow. Okay. So you guys go down this route of like, you're married, you're starting a family. When down that road did you kind of leave the acting world? I guess you never really did to a certain extent and started like your own entrepreneurial kind of thing within your household?
I know the moment. Well, I mean, it happened gradually, but I know the time frame that it happened because Heidi doesn't know this, but I'm currently editing a video about it. And like the video is basically about like how Heidi is such a huge part of what I do because of who she is and how she has supported me over the years. But there's one particular moment. It was like a year into Dude Dad. So we were a year into making videos, and at the time I was an apartment manager, and then I lost my job as an apartment manager because the owner sold the building, and then the new company came in and they had their own people. So they're like, you don't have a job anymore and you need to move. Get out of here, you know?
They did. They came and told us you had to be out 24 hours.
Yeah, they told us
24 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like, no, that's not a thing. You're not doing that. We have a 1-year-old. Like,
No.
what are you doing? You know? So we pushed back. But anyway, it was a very like traumatic time. So like, you know, not only did I have to go find a new place for us to live, I also no longer had a job. So I had to find a new job to make more money. Heidi changed nonprofit jobs so she could make a little bit more money. We were like dead broke. Like our first year of marriage, we made $25,000 collectively. Like just
in LA.
Yeah.
in LA. Yeah.
Oh my
Like
God.
granted our rent was free, so that helped, but still like nothing. So then I got a job working set construction. So I'm working construction every week along with, you know, putting out a new Dude Dad video every single week. And at the time I'm still like writing, producing, editing, acting, all of it myself. No help, you know, other than just friends occasionally. And then also still trying to audition, you know, keep myself available to make all the auditions. And it was like way too much to handle. And I couldn't do it anymore. And I was like, you know, just burning it at both ends. And then we found out Heidi was pregnant
With a
Oh
second.
my gosh.
with the second. So she's pregnant. And so there's a lot going on. I couldn't handle it anymore. And I finally broke down to Heidi and I was like, I have to quit something. This is too much. Can't do all this. And without any hesitation, she looked at me and said, you can't quit Dude Dad. And that was crazy because at the time we had like no following and it made no money, but she knew that there was something more there and she believed in me when I didn't believe in me. So, and that was it because like, then I look back on that, I'm like, well, what did I cut out? And it was acting. I like slowly stopped going to auditions when they were all the way across town and it was going to wreck my whole day, you know, when I had other things planned to get a video shot or like a new little brand deal that came in that was worth $800, you know? So I stopped going to auditions and eventually my agent just dropped me. And so I look back and I'm like, oh, Heidi convinced me to quit acting.
Wow.
Sorry.
No, but like it was the best thing ever because it was the path that led us to where we are now. And I wouldn't trade this for anything.
Dang, dude. I mean, you just said it in a handful of sentences, but I know, and clearly through the emotion, like acting seemed like it was the goal for probably years, maybe decades, right? And so for that to be the thing that gets phased out, to make room for something, that's so powerful. And I know there's a lot of pain and depth to that. And I was just reflecting, the NFL draft just happened. And so like, I was just doing that same reflection process of like, dude, the NFL, that's what I wanted. I wanted football so bad. And I thought that was best for me. But then now I look back and it's like, you want it any other way. And like, I got hurt and beat up through that whole process and it stunk sometimes, but like, it's good now. Things are good. So.
Well, and Heidi, relating to you, it's so hard. It's so hard as a spouse because there's so many times like you're almost an outsider. You have an outsider's perspective on your spouse because you see what they're going through. And there's been so many times from both of us where you get into those ruts where you're like overwhelmed and there's too much and you're like, I don't know what to offload. And we've even had conversations before where he'll say, I'm going to quit this. And I'm like, no, it's the wrong one. Like, I know that's the wrong one because it means too much to you, but you think it's someone you need to get rid of. And that's a really hard position to be in as a spouse, because you kind of have to like show support, and like it's almost like reverse psychology to a certain extent. You're like, I support you in everything, but maybe like try this one a little bit more.
But Heidi, what was it about Dude Dad that you didn't want Taylor to give up?
I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't making any money, but like the small amount of people that were responding to like how the very beginnings of it was just him talking about being a dad, and like the experiences in little tiny moments. And I was like, who talks about this? Like, what dad is out there talking about his emotions? And then having other dads and moms like respond back with their own experience and relating so well. And I was like, there's 1,000 things in the world that you can do, but like when you find the spot where you're going to be able to be so relatable and connected to humans, like, that's unmatched. So I was like, there's nothing that comes close to that. And you can make all the money in the world, but if you're not relating or connecting anybody or being, then what are you doing?
Preach. Dang. Okay, so what was it about? How did you stumble into like Dude Dad as the even topic of what your videos were about? Why that? Why not like it could be anything else that you were talking about, but you chose Dad?
I mean, I'd been making YouTube videos since I was like really little. Like
Some of them are funny.
Yeah, when me and my brother started this channel called, well, it wasn't a channel because it wasn't this was before YouTube even happened. I was like 9 and we created our own Mad TV and we called it Bad TV. It was really bad. But like one of my favorites was Clint Eastwood in Hang 'em Low. And like, it's me playing Clint Eastwood. And I I don't know, wrangle this guy down and then I hang him, but he has to hold his feet up.
Oh my gosh.
So stupid. Anyway, so I've been making videos, from when I was little, but I did a bunch more in college, but I like always had an appetite for making my own content because I knew how to edit and all the things, and then, as an actor, you kind of just have to continually stay creative, because if you sit around and just wait for the next project that you get invited to be in, you might never do anything, so I had like tried starting a sketch channel a couple of times with a few different people and it just never worked very well. And I've always felt like I was doing like most of the work. So when I found out Heidi was pregnant, I was like, okay, I don't know how much longer we can stay in Los Angeles. It's way too expensive. It's not good for families. I might have to give up this dream, but maybe I can still like make videos and have a creative outlet. And, there's all these mom like blogs and people making videos about mom stuff, and they're killing it. Maybe I could be like the dad version of that. So that's when I came up with Dude Dad. I actually loved the name Rad Dad, but I'm like, everyone's using that. I need something new. So I came up with the next closest thing, which was Dude Dad. And I just started making videos primarily about fatherhood as just sort of like a way to give myself a genre. And little did I know that like I was like on the front end of a wave that was about to happen with culture and fatherhood and fathers being, more involved. And like, there's all this stuff about like father paternity leave now. And like, just like, I was just got on the front of that thing. And there was like a few other like sort of big fatherhood giants in the social media space. But like, I knew how to make videos and they didn't. So slowly like,
and you were doing brand deals for those.
Yeah, exactly.
For a while.
And I started collaborating with some of them. At one point, one of them like stole my whole thing and I had to like do a cease and desist and everything. And like, it was they just like copied the format and then called it Dude to Dad. And I was like, what is this? It was crazy. And like, and I wasn't big enough to really fight much yet. I was just like, now there's this corporation that has all of these like tools and, you know, people to like resources to make my thing so much better. And they like their editing was so much sharper and crisper and everything. But at the end of the day, like, and, you know, I had like a few good people in my life, you know, including Heidi, but like my mentor at the time was like, yeah, but they don't have you. Like you know, you're the gold. You need to just keep doing your thing and forget about them, you know? So anyway, I don't remember the question.
How did you get to?
Yeah. I am curious though, with like content creation, especially the kind of empire you've created, it can be very, very consuming. We all are very aware that content creation can literally be a full-time job times 100.
I love it so much though, dude. I freaking love it. But go ahead, sorry.
Because on top of you could just create and create and create and never stop, you're technically dictating your own hours. You could work all day and never stop and never create enough content on with the internet. Because your content is fatherhood, because everything around what you post is about giving back as a father and like all the morals behind it. How do you balance teaching and sharing content that is so good around fatherhood, but also being a good father?
That's a great question. And it's something I, you know, kind of struggled with for a little bit.
But it is something we talk about often.
It is. And not all of our stuff is about fatherhood now. There's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's just about like marriage and stuff. And we found that, you know, the comedy path was easier because sometimes like it's hard to be insightful every week and have something like thoughtful and profound to say every week. I don't know how pastors do it. Yeah. You know, I think they just bank on the fact that only half the parishioners listening each week. But no, but it is something that's an element that I've used to keep myself honest, you know, that like if I put out a video, you know, that shows me in one way, I really take that to heart and go like, okay, if this is who I'm telling people I am, I need to be that person. So then when I'm not being that person, like it hurts and I have to like keep myself in check, you know. But I think the other part of it is like, you know, in those videos where we like, you know, really talk about stuff or even just in stories and stuff, like I try to be very like honest about my struggle, you know, because I think that's more of what it's about, is like showing the vulnerability and who we are and that it's hard for us too, and not painting it like we're this pretty picture with everything. It's like an Instagram feed, you know, like you only show the good things, right? So, you know, trying to show the bad things too and being like, hey, I had a shouting match with my kid today in the yard and I'm super nervous and my kids all heard it, or all my neighbors all heard it, you know?
Okay. So question for you, Heidi. So you make these comedy sketches together, but there are certain instances where it seems like Heidi's featured, you know, as the mom or the female. But then there's other instances where Taylor just says, I'm going to do both. I'm going to dress up. And how do you delineate between those two? How do you figure that out?
Well, sometimes it's really just about my availability, if I was available that day. But
that's for sure. Yeah, that's part of it.
But other times it's when he's going to, when he needs to make the jokes and I'm not going to make them, you know? So he'll play me. I mean, yeah, there's all of the my wife be likes are just, they're meant to make fun of, but also in a fun way to be like, see, this is funny. Like you can laugh at this, right? This is funny.
Yeah.
So, but you know, if you feel like you're being made fun of in some ways, then you're less likely to like deliver like the way it needs to be delivered to be relatable, you know? So, and I can get way too much into my head when we're like filming stuff. Like if there's anything that's like a super emotional scene, I have a really hard time with that. Like he has to basically act it out for me so that I can like give him the performance that he needs or like the bit that he needs. Cause I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Sounds familiar over here.
Yeah, I don't know how much actual footage there is, but anytime like Heidi does a really emotional scene, there's a clip right before that of me doing it to be like, look, do it like this. Come up here, you're gonna fall down the stairs. You're like, I can't do it,
Like,
and then cry.
and then I'm like, yeah, it's like a literal like talking yourself up in my mind to be like, okay, just do it. Just don't think about it too hard and go for it and just do it. And then he always uses those takes.
We go through that same thing. Shawn, I have so many ideas where I'm like, Shawn, I just need you to like act a little bit. And she's
no.
like, I'm not acting at all. You can't get me to act at all. So anyway, those ideas die. But what were you about to say?
She always nails it eventually though. And the thing that Heidi's really good at is just being herself. So like, and like reacting, she's really good at reacting in the moment and making it feel authentic. Even if even if it's the second take and she already knows what the bit is, you know, or what the prank is or whatever, she can come in and give us another like clean reaction that feels really real. And that's why we've like, you know, it is easier if I just play her because I know exactly what I want and want to get, but also then we can have more fun with it because then it becomes a perspective thing of like, this is how I see my wife. That's why it's my wife be like, and not mom's be like, because it gives you that perspective of like, oh, this is how the husband sees his wife, you know. But then it also gives us that second video where Heidi gets to watch the video and react to it. And we found people like those just as much as the first video.
Yeah.
Funny.
Dang.
So playing off of the question that I asked about like protecting almost like Instagram versus reality, your YouTube fatherhood versus fatherhood. With my wife be like, with the storytelling, with the comedy acts, with showing your family, your kids, how do you protect your marriage and your family? I know we've interviewed a lot of different people within this space of content creation that share their life, and everybody has a different take on it. But are there boundaries? Are there conversations? Are there working hours? Are there things that you guys have put in place to kind of protect your relationship and your family?
I think that there's some and there's some just naturally built in, as far as like hours and times, because our kids are really, I'm not going to say needy. They're just kids at night and they want to be with mom and dad. So, and I don't have enough attention span to be able to like focus on them and something else at the same time. Like this morning, Taylor wanted to like list off some things and he wanted to like have this conversation about this thing. And I was like, I literally can't right now. I hear everything that the kids are doing. And I'm like, I'm making breakfast, but I'm also so focused and can hear every single word they're saying to each other that I literally won't be able to hear a word that you say. So some of it's just built in of like what our kids need. And at night, like our daughter needs to sleep with us. She wants us to lay with her. It's kind of a non-negotiable for her going to bed. And I don't care. I love that moment with her. And so I'm not available at that time. And like, that's just kind of, he already has feelings about that, but that's just kind of like where some things lie, is like just whatever our kids need. And because my own capacity just can't keep up with two worlds at once, that's just naturally built in. And our son calls him out all the time because he's starting to want to play on his own iPod and all the things. Mm-hmm. So we've put time limits on like how long he can be on, and he'll be like, well, dad was on his phone. Dad's on his phone. Why does he get to be on his phone more? And I'm like, oh yeah, dad, why are you on your phone right now? Why are you on your phone? You know,
because I'm paying for your college, kid.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there's just some built-in stuff like that where he's watching and I'm like, seriously. And like Taylor will just be like finishing an email or having to respond to something. I'm like, I get it, but you really have to put it down now. You have to set it down because he's looking at you, wondering why you're there and not with him, you know?
Yeah. But I think there is also like, in terms of content, there's not too many boundaries of what we won't talk about, you know, with our relationship. With our kids, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
And if if there is something that we don't want to talk about in a relationship, it's almost instinctive that we know that we shouldn't. You know, but for the most part, like, I feel like we've gotten pretty comfortable with being very open, and I'm proud of that, because like I think the more vulnerable we are, the more real we are, the more relatable we are, the more it helps other people with whatever they're dealing with. You know, if they see us dealing with it and having that, you know, fight or that issue, that they can like go, oh, okay, me and my wife aren't, you know, get self-destructing right now. Like a lot of couples go through this.
Yeah.
But I think the other piece is that nothing goes unsaid between the two of us. So usually by the time it's to camera or that, you know, it's gotten brought up, we already know where the other one stands on it. And we've already had a little bit of discussion.
Yeah,
so
like
it's not like attacking
and like
each other, you know?
The spouse fights videos. Like we've done 2 different videos now where it's like top 5 spouse fights. So we've had 10 different fights now. Every single one of those is a legitimate real fight that we have ongoing, right? Like it's, and, you know, I write them and, you know, make sure I show them to Heidi and stuff. But I think the reason it works is that I make sure in the writing process that I'm showing that I'm giving a solid representation to her point of view and a solid representation of my point of view. So the audience can decide what their point of view is, but no one looks more insane than the other person. You know, like we both look insane or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking back to the last time we did one, because we were writing it and we like got in a fight about writing it. And I'm like, he's like, this is it.
This is perfect.
This is it.
Let's do it. Get the camera.
That's one of Andrew's favorite questions to ask people is we'll be on like double dates and he's like, what's your like number one fight?
No. And I asked it one time and then I realized that it's the wrong question to ask.
Because it's never resolved.
Because those fights are ongoing.
Yes.
Yeah.
How can we have an awful night this evening?
Enjoy your fight. Good hanging.
A funny story is the one couple he did ask, it was almost as if that argument just picked straight back up. And it was like they just went cold to each other for the rest of the night. We're like, oh shoot.
It was
Sorry.
it was regarding, we were having like such good conversation. Just like, you know, it was just awesome night. And then I was like, so what would you say your biggest fight? I don't know what, I'm an idiot. Like that's why I asked the question. And they were like, it was actually regarding the Sabbath and should you, oh shoot, what was it? Like, should it be fully a day of rest or like not? And that was their biggest fight. And so like, they were like, yeah, it's, you know, it's about how seriously we should take the Sabbath. They're like, what do you mean take it seriously? It's in the butt. You know? It's like, oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Yeah. Anyway, I'm curious, Taylor, what is your creative process? Do you have like a process or a practice?
I'm way too type B. But so like the way I've kind of like tried to explain it to my team and everyone, you know, kind of has to learn to go with the flow. And I have, you know, I have my 2 best friends, DJ and Burke, who are helping now as well. And they'll come up with ideas and write stuff as well. But the videos that get made the quickest are the ones where something happens between us or, you know, we see something or, you know, the kids do something crazy and I'm inspired with an idea. And then like when I have an idea that I like, I can't stop until it's done, you know?
Very true.
When I'm not sure how to get the idea off the ground, it will take a long, you'll drag me kicking and screaming to finish it, you know, or to figure it out, you know? And that's where like DJ comes in like handy. Like I have like this golf analogy where DJs are really good, like driver, right? Where he can hit the ball down the fairway and get the round started. And then Burke is my caddy because he can help kind of figure out how to get the thing done. And then I'm there just trying to make decisions along the way and they're helping me get there. And then we get the whole thing shot and then DJ puts it in. Yeah.
That's great. Book recommendation, and then we'll talk about your book, but The War of Art talks, it's a really interesting take on the creative process. And I'm taking you as a creative type, so you might enjoy it. But speaking of books, let's talk about your new book coming out in May.
A Dude's Guide to Baby Size.
Let's go.
By the way, phenomenal name. I love that name.
Thank you. I'm glad you do because I've I've had sleepless nights wondering if it was the wrong name.
No, I love it.
Okay, cool.
So let me I think this is a take from your trailer that you made on it, which I loved so much. Very well done. But it says it's all about a dude's like, there's a bunch of books about their baby's development and comparing them to a raspberry or a stalk of broccoli. But you say, first of all, your baby is not some wimpy little vegetable. Your baby is like a hardcore little lug nut who's straight up growing organs on a weekly basis, which I feel like gives a good take on what the book is. But what was the inspiration behind this?
Essentially that, like, we were pregnant with Juno she was pregnant with Juno at the time. And I was there. And there was I just kept noticing all these apps and stuff talking about lug nut or about vegetables and fruit and compared to how big your baby was. And I was like, what the hell's a kumquat? Like, I don't know what that is. That's zero relevance to me. I'm like, there needs to be a version of this that's for men. So I came up with the idea back then. I started writing it. And then I was like, I don't know how to get a book published. Let's just shelf this idea and maybe someday it'll come back around. And then God, it's been a couple of years ago now when I got like an opportunity with a book agent who then connected me with Penguin Random House and my editor, Andrew, who just so happened to be like a huge fan of mine. And his wife was pregnant while we were writing the book. Wow. So like, it was just like a perfect scenario. But originally it was going to just be like a coffee table book that had like a picture and a page, and then they pushed it further than that. So it became, it goes way past pregnancy. So now like the first chapter basically like tells you what's happening with the baby and with the mom, which I think is amazing because I think as, expecting dads, like we see our wives going through all this stuff and we're like, do you need pickles or ice cream? Or, like that's the only thing we know. Yeah. But to have like, information that is written for guys to help understand what they could be doing during this time, other than just being on the sidelines, is huge. But then after that, so the first, paragraph of each chapter kind of like gets that out of the way. And then after that, it uses the item to sort of dive into a story that I have from my past as a dad, or even from my childhood, that relates to the item, but, it uses the item to, to jump off into like a story time about like a fatherhood lesson. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's really just like a great way to just get, new dads' minds, turning about like, okay, what is this going to be like? What should I be doing right now? What should I be thinking about right now? What kind of dad do I want to be?
Because again, there's not very many things out there for dads to learn how to connect emotionally to that process.
Not at all.
So,
or even just prep and like be thinking about or being inspired,
But the book it's not that big, and so like we went to the Olive Garden the other night and did the live from Olive Garden because he talks about Olive Garden in there. But
chapter 24, your baby is now the size. Wait, is it 24?
I think so.
I forgot. Now the size of a bowl of Olive Garden soup and breadsticks.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's a way better reference point than an eggplant, which
It is.
I've never seen a grown eggplant in my life.
Well, and all have different eggplants are all different sizes.
Week 25, I'm sorry. They're very close.
But people were replying and they were like, well, my husband's not going to read. And I was like, well, read it to him. Also, we have an audiobook, and
audiobooks are great because that's how I do it too. I'm an audiobook guy.
Yeah.
Heidi, as a mom of 3, having gone through 3 pregnancies, have you read it and would you agree that everything's side by side? Because I do believe that was one of the hardest things with our daughter, our first baby, is as a first dad, you have no idea. One, as the wife or spouse, to like communicate how I need help and support, and 2, how to like explain what's going on and how to prepare, because books literally only tell the mom like, oh, you should probably start thinking about this. So I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah. So I have read the whole book with him. He read it all out loud
That's
to
awesome.
me through different days, doing dinner, after dinner, after
Usually
bedtime.
while she's sitting in the
in the bathtub, all the things. So I have heard all of it. All the stories are really great and relatable. And I think it does do a great job at, I mean, it's not going to go into all the details that a woman needs to know about her body, because that's not the point of the book, but it does do a good job of giving a good perspective of what's going on. And then, like how to connect to the process. And he does give ideas. I can't remember it's every chapter, but there's one chapter in particular where there's like 10 to 12 different action items that you can take right now to help the baby's mama.
Yeah,
That's
there's
awesome.
there's a lot of, I think probably every there's probably 4 or 5 times where there's like just gives ideas of what you can do or what you can be thinking about.
Yeah.
So who can, because there is advice on how to help the mom to be. Heidi, did that advice come from you, or is that more Taylor inspired?
I think it's both.
That's good.
Yeah. Because there was a couple of things that he read to me. I'm like, no, take that out.
I just, to the wives who say their husbands won't read, I disagree. There's just not a lot, to your point, Heidi, of material meant for husbands on this subject. So it's like, I would read the heck out of this book, because it's targeted towards me. And I've already recommended this book to a handful of our friends. We have so many friends who are pregnant right now.
8 friends pregnant, which is crazy.
It's awesome, but you're right, because reflecting back on when Shawn was pregnant with Drew, our first, it's like the guy wants to be supportive. Mm-hmm. He's there. I went to every doctor's appointment, but you have no idea. You got no clue. And so it wasn't until our pediatrician or the doctor was like, okay, hey, so, your wife's feet are throbbing. You should massage them. It's I just don't have the intellectual capability to have that inspirational thought on my own. So you're
also a super thoughtful guy. So imagine the guys, some of it, we make it really simple and straightforward. Yeah. Hey, she might not say it, but she wants you to go to the doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
If it's your third one, maybe you're taking care of the other kids and you just go to a few of the important ones. But if it's your first baby, go to as many of them as possible, know? And my editor was like, well, some guys have jobs and stuff, so maybe we want to phrase it more like that. I'm like, no. I was like, women have jobs too. Yeah. She's got to go to every single one. Why don't you also go to every single one? Figure it out. Like, if you really can't go, then you won't go, but at least you'll feel guilty.
Yeah.
True. Know?
What is your desired effect with this book, Taylor?
I mean, I just hope that it like inspires and gets men like engaged early on in the process, you know? Like, I remember when our first one, it was like the last 2 months of pregnancy, and I'd, been going to all the appointments and stuff with her.
Had a lot.
But in like the last like 2 months, I remember having like a mental like freak out of like, oh crap, I'm about to be a dad and I haven't read anything. I don't know what I'm doing, what's going to happen, so like, and also like, I know that there's a lot of the pregnancy books that are really boring. So I'm like, I feel like I can, bridge that gap a little bit and make something that's like, attainable and easy and accessible and speaks to, speaks in a way that men can like relate and understand, and answers the questions that they want to know. Like, are we ever going to have sex ever again? Like, it's in there, like, cause they, it's embarrassing, but 100% every guy has that question of like, is it over?
Yeah. I was speaking to my buddy. They have a baby due in 5 weeks. And he's like, dude, me and my wife hadn't had naked time in 6 months, like since the first trimester. I was like, oh, dang.
Oh my God.
It's okay.
That's supposed to change the second trimester.
It is supposed to change second trimester.
I know. It's the desert out there, though. All right. We'll close with this. I'm curious, Heidi, what are you most proud of for Taylor? And then we'll go vice versa, too.
Oh, my gosh. Andrew. I don't know how to answer that, because like someone was asking us that question the other day, and I was like, how do you tell like somebody that you wouldn't know what to how to live life without just how proud of them and how like incredibly grateful you are that they're in your life. Like I don't get it. Like you're everything. I don't get it. So I don't know how you can be everything, you know? But I think,
You trying to say you want to make out after this?
I'm saying, so I think the biggest way to understand like how impactful he is that there's fathers all over literally the world that are inspired by like what he created and what he did. So I think that's what I'm most proud of, is just that, like, not only do I see it, like a wife is going to see the things that they love about their spouse, but it's something else for like a globe to see that, you know? So I think that's what I'm most proud of.
That's well said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Taylor.
I'm like the most proud of your authenticity, and like you are exactly who you are, and anybody that ever sees anything, you know, with you in it or about you, like there is zero veil, or it's just, you're just 100% authentic, that like you're who you say you are, you're who everyone thinks you are. And I think that's why people like you better than me. But that's why I like you better than me too, because you're just real, and like the real person you are is a very generous, like thoughtful human being that's just like a giver.
Thank you.
Well, Taylor, I'm glad you said that, because we really just wanted to interview Heidi, but since you were the one writing the book, we decided.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, it's great. You guys, first of all, your videos are hilarious, so thank you for that. But what's very apparent is the comedy and the source of that, I think, is so sticky and powerful and relatable, because it comes from this place of like, you guys have experienced the realness of the arguments that you're making skits about now, and just the everyday life problems. And you're not like, it's not like Taylor and Heidi are, you know, skipping through life laughing all the time. It's like, no, you just have this general approach that like, hey, this is good, and it's all working towards the good. So I really appreciate you giving us the time. And for those listening who haven't checked out Dude Dad, we'll link that down below. And also Taylor's new book that he wrote with Heidi's wisdom. It's called A Dude's Guide to Baby Size. Check it out. It's out May, and congratulations on everything. Glad to know you now.
Yeah, you guys as well. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I was super stoked to know we were going to come on a podcast with you. Thanks for taking us to therapy today.
Yeah. Hopefully we didn't spark any arguments.
Seriously. Anyway, this was fun.
No, I feel like we're leaving very connected.
Yeah.
So like you guys have that power. I appreciate
I'm gonna
it.
go make out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.